He married a stranger to honor his fallen brother. It was the summer of 1874 when the sun first burned its name into Jacob Whitman's memory. Jacob sat on the porch of the Whitman family ranch, his hat pulled low, eyes fixed on the horizon where the dusty plains met mountains laced with smoke. The warm wind carried the scent of sagebrush and the low hum of cicadas. For weeks, he had been waiting for the letters to stop coming, waiting for the sorrow to fade, waiting for life to return to the way it was before. But it never would. 2 months earlier, Jacob's older brother, Samuel Whitman, had ridden into town and never come home. Word spread quickly. Samuel had been shot during a brawl in Red Rock Gulch, a mining settlement a day's ride east. A gambler, fueled by whiskey and wounded pride, had pulled lead from his pistol and aimed at Samuel when tempers flared over a card game gone wrong. Samuel took the bullet and died under the blood-red sky. Jacob's heart died with him. For years, the Whitman brothers had worked the land together. Samuel had been the older brother, the guardian, the one with quiet strength and a grin that seemed to steal all cares. Jacob had been the quieter one, the thinker, the one who believed in second chances and forgiveness. They had shared laughter under the night sky, dreams about the future, and the unspoken promise that somehow they would always protect each other. But now Samuel was gone. The will. Jacob rode into Red Rock Gulch a week after the funeral, the letter tightly rolled in his jacket pocket. He entered the creaking saloon slowly. The scent of stale whiskey and smoke hit him first, then the murmurs of weary men who looked up, saw him, then looked away. His boots made a soft echo on the wooden floor as he approached the mark on the wall, the place where Samuel's final wishes had been posted. A thin, delicate piece of paper, corners worn from wind and rain, fluttered with every passing breath of air. Jacob reached out and read with tense shoulders. If anything should happen to me, I want my brother Jacob to honor the promise I made to Miss Amelia Carter. I cannot fulfill it myself. I ask him to do so in my stead. The signature was unmistakable. Amelia Carter. Jacob folded the letter into his palm, his mind racing with questions. Samuel had never spoken about Amelia at home. Of all the things he might have written, of cattle deals, or paydays owed, he chose a promise involving a woman Jacob didn't know existed. The stranger. The next morning, Jacob asked around town. Folks in Red Rock Gulch remembered Samuel well, brave, dashing, respected. But only a few knew of Miss Carter. They said she was beautiful, strong-willed, once the heart of the town before tragedy struck her family. But after her parents died in a wagon accident, she had become distant, almost withdrawn, living at the edge of town in the old Carter homestead. Jacob found the Carter place by dusk. The wooden house stood silent, surrounded by broken fence posts and dry grass. Dogs barked in the distance, wind rustling through the cracked window panes. He dismounted and walked up the steps, boots creaking on weathered wood. He searched for a moment before hearing footsteps inside. Then, the door opened. She stood tall, her posture rigid, face unreadable. Her eyes were sharp, vibrant, yet softened by sorrow. "Can I help you?" she asked, voice steady. Jacob cleared his throat. "Miss Amelia Carter." She didn't answer at first. Her eyes scanned him up and down warily. "Yes," she said finally. "Who wants to know?" "I'm Jacob Whitman," he said, pulling out the letter. "Your brother knew my brother. He left me this." Amelia's gaze steadied over the paper. For a moment, her face went unreadable. Then, slowly, she invited him inside. The promise. In the parlor of the Carter home, dust motes danced in shafts of late afternoon light. Jacob handed the letter across the table. Amelia read silently. Her jaw tightened, eyes flickering, not with anger, but memory. "Sam and I, we were friends," she said softly. "More than friends, once." Jacob nodded, though his heart ached with confusion. "It's about a promise. Your letter says he wanted me to marry you if—" "No," she interrupted, shaking her head. "It doesn't say that." Jacob blinked. "It says Samuel wanted you to honor something he promised me," she continued. "But it doesn't say what that promise was." Jacob's stomach twisted. "Then why leave it to me?" Amelia exhaled. "Because Sam knew you'd understand honor. And because he thought maybe you could finish what he started." Jacob felt restless. But he couldn't ask the question pounding in his chest. "Finish what he started," he echoed. The story unfolds. Amelia looked down, eyes fixed on the grain of the old wooden tabletop. Sam and I met the summer the river flooded, she began. My parents were gone. I was alone, trying to run the farm, and the river took what little we had left. She paused. He helped me, she continued, when no one else would. He was kind, patient, funny. And I fell for him. Jacob felt something inside him twist. What happened? He left, she said simply. Jacob frowned. He left. Amelia nodded, eyes misting. He had to take care of his family. Something he didn't tell me at the time. Jacob remembered the Whitman ranch, the tough years battling drought and dead cattle. He realized then that Samuel had probably felt torn between duty and love. But before he left, Amelia continued, voice steadying, he made me a promise. A big one. Jacob waited. He asked me to marry him one day, she said. That he'd come back for me when things were settled. When his family was secure. Jacob swallowed. And then he died. The impossible decision. Jacob paced the wooden floor of Amelia's home well into the night. The air was silent except for the wind whistling through broken shutters. What was Samuel asking him to do? To marry a stranger. To honor a promise made out of love, something that wasn't his to fulfill. Could he? Jacob remembered his own family, the countless nights Sam steadied him when he felt lost. Sam was more than a brother. He was the anchor of his world. But this was different. This was love. Jacob had never known love like that. He had devoted his life to the ranch, to hard work, to routine. He wasn't good with feelings, or emotions, never had been. Yet here he was, tasked with something far more complicated than any cattle deal or land dispute. He thought of Amelia. Strong, quiet, deep-eyed like someone who had faced the harshness of life and wasn't afraid to survive it. What would happen if he agreed? Would she laugh, cry, reject him outright? What if she never wanted him, not truly? Jacob didn't know. But in the morning, he rode back into town with a resolve he hadn't felt in weeks. He had a choice to make. The offer. Jacob found Amelia at the market square, gathering water. At first, she didn't recognize him. But when she did, her eyes hardened slightly. Jacob, she said. Amelia, he replied. They stood there, two strangers linked by the memory of someone gone. I've been thinking, Jacob said finally, about what your brother promised you. She didn't reply. I know it wasn't my place, he continued. But I want to help. Not because Sam asked me to. I know, she interrupted. You wouldn't do it just for him. Jacob paused. Maybe not. But I think, maybe I can be someone you can trust. Someone who won't run. Amelia looked away for a moment, then met his gaze. I don't need protection, she said softly. I was never weak. No, Jacob said. But maybe we can walk forward together. Not because of a promise made in the past, but because of the life we haven't lived yet. For a moment, they simply looked at each other. Then Amelia nodded. The wedding. They married 6 weeks later. It was a simple ceremony at the edge of Red Rock Gulch. The sun shone bright above them, and wind carried the scent of wildflowers. Neighbors gathered, some smiling, some skeptical. But most had tears in their eyes. Jacob stood tall in his best coat, Amelia radiant in a simple dress white as fresh snow. They barely knew each other, not truly, yet there was something between them that neither had expected. Hope. The ceremony was brief. The vows, spoken with trembling voices, were more promises of respect and kindness than fiery declarations of romance. When it was done, Jacob and Amelia walked into a future neither of them had asked for, but both were ready to try. The first year of their marriage was hard. They worked the land together, side by side. Plowed fields, herded cattle, repaired the fence posts ripped apart by winter storms. On cold nights, they shared warm meals and firelight, quiet moments where words were few but presence was plentiful. Jacob learned how Amelia laughed, a gentle sound that rose like song when she was truly happy. She, in turn, discovered how Jacob held sturdy confidence beneath his still exterior, how he cared fiercely about doing the right thing, even when it hurt. They grew used to each other's ways, the tilt of a smile, the pause before speaking, the gentle way Amelia tended flowers while Jacob shoveled hay. And slowly, something began to blossom between them, an affection neither had expected, but both felt deeply. It wasn't love like the stories. Not dramatic or instant. It was the kind that grows in quiet moments, like roots spreading deep into rich soil. What she became. Jacob found himself thinking about the future, something he hadn't done since Samuel died. He imagined fields planted with crops that flourished, children's laughter echoing off mountain ridges, and hands held close on long nights. Amelia became more than a promise. She became his partner, his hope, the keeper of new dreams. She became the reason he woke up at dawn with a sense of purpose, one that extended beyond a promise made by someone who was gone. And for Amelia, something shifted too. She began to trust again, to dream again, to believe in a life that wasn't defined by loss, but by what could be built together. They became something neither expected. A family. Epilogue. Years later. Years passed. The farm prospered. Fields once barren greened with wheat and corn. A small barn they built together stood proud against the horizon. And one autumn day, laughter filled the air as children ran across the land chasing after geese and dogs. Jacob and Amelia stood on the porch, the same porch where sorrow had once sat heavy, and watched life continue in the warmth of a golden sunset. He looked at her, her hair streaked with silver, eyes still bright with laughter, and realized the truth. Promises matter, not because they are spoken, but because of the heart that keeps them alive. Samuel's memory lived on, not as a shadow of regret, but as a force that brought two hearts together in a way that changed them both. Jacob reached for Amelia's hand. She smiled. "Beautiful sunset," she said. "It is," he replied. They stood there in silence, watching colors bleed across the sky, a perfect ending to a life neither of them could have imagined. And in that quiet moment, Jacob knew this. Some promises echo long after the voice that spoke them has faded. But what